Hello and welcome to the 99th Monkey Liberty News, formerly known as the 50-cent tour of the day. Today is Monday, October 21st, 2013. Benjamin Fulford, I think this just recently posted because I just refreshed the page and here it was. So I haven't even expanded this yet, but like a junkie selling family heirlooms, the U.S. corporate government buys time. Just that phrase kind of says it all, I guess, doesn't it? Here from Mail Online, stay away from Healthcare.gov for at least another month. Obamacare loses major cheerleader as Consumer Reports mag issues scathing advice. Consumer Reports is not some crazed right-wing publication. If anything, it leans toward being liberal. So this, what we consider at this point neutral advice from Consumer Reports, is Danger Will Robinson pertaining to Healthcare.gov, and of course that is the website for Obamacare that works only to submit to the NSA all of the details of whosever life decides to visit it. So I'm staying away. I'm heeding Consumer Reports advice and staying away from that website. Paul Craig Roberts, and this was from Friday, or actually Saturday, a potpourri of exciting reading, Paul Craig Roberts. And it came out, obviously, after I put together the news for Friday. And so he recommends this as a weekend reading list. But there's just some good information in this article, and I wanted to include it this morning. I would like to move into some of the news of the weird, if I may. The lady who was the stenographer for the House, who supposedly gave that impassioned message about this is not one nation under God because Freemasons wrote the Constitution. Evidently, she said that in another setting, and what she actually said on the floor of the House has not been released to the public. It'll be interesting to see if there's any leak about this, what she actually said, what she actually did. But this is a very interesting video that shows her talking with a gentleman who was near her and then very calmly walking up as if something had been planned ahead of time. I mean, it didn't seem like just some random outburst, which is kind of how it was presented. So I think there are a couple of streams of thought on this. One is that she may have been under some kind of mind control, and the guy who sent her up to the front was her handler. Another is the possibility that perhaps she was carrying a message from somebody about NESARA, about implementing NESARA, or who knows. I mean, okay, that's where my mind goes because that's what I want it to be. But if you have just a few minutes, it takes 7 minutes, 3 seconds to go through this video and form your own opinion. And if you notice anything or anything becomes apparent to you, please feel free to share your insights in the comments section on YouTube. And pertaining to NESARA, here is on Twit Plus is some information on NESARA. This is probably not new to some people that might be watching this video, but it's an interesting. I think it's good to always have a reminder. I'm just going to read this first paragraph. Have you heard of NESARA? It's real. Here are some details. Some of the authors of NESARA law are Ron Paul, Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, Barney Frank, Paul Wellstone, Maxine Waters, Charlie Rangel, and Dennis Kucinich. All of the authors of the law were put under a gag order, as were the court officials and those briefed on it, such as certain news broadcasters. When Minnesota Senator Paul Wellstone was about to break the gag order, his small passenger plane crashed, killing his wife, daughter, and himself. I'll read that and go on to the next paragraph. If fear isn't enough to keep Washington in line, money is. Routine bribes are offered to government military officials by the power elite secret government. And not surprisingly, much disinformation about NESARA can be found on the internet. Wikipedia's article is total disinformation. And here is a rundown of what is real about NESARA. And I am hoping, sometimes beyond hope, that NESARA will be implemented. It's probably not the end-all be-all answer to all the ills in our country, but it's a very good place to begin. So, as I said, I'm hoping that it will be implemented. Somebody will break the gag order, and the information will be forced out into the public, and it'll happen. Here is a video. Alex breaks down historic armed march at the Alamo. It looks like Alex Jones was having some fun yesterday. And this is an entertaining video. Seriously. Oh, it was actually Saturday, not yesterday. I'm sorry. It looks like he was having some fun on Saturday. And if you are not an Alex listener, you might want to tune in to today's audio recording at some point. He has some really interesting guests today. Greg Palast talking about the $13 billion fine for Chase, which the actual damages were $1 trillion. So $18 billion, although it sounds like a huge amount of money to most average people, is really not that much money in light of the crime. And he also has John McAfee right now, who's talking about some scandals, which John McAfee actually just came on, so not exactly sure what he's going to talk about. But getting back for a moment to Chase, and I don't know details. I just heard what Greg Palast's perspective is. I believe that this is a lawsuit in the court system that's been initiated by somebody within the government. I'm hoping that there might also be a civil case, and that would just be a group of people getting together and demanding action. And I became aware over the weekend of a couple of videos, Irish Banking Revolution. Now this one is from a few months ago, but the title of the video is Irish People Issue Warning to Banks by Shutting Down Repossessions. The video is, it's pretty raw footage. I mean, it's not a sophisticated video, but it shows just from a handheld camera what happened when a group of people in Ireland attended an auction where properties that had been repossessed were being sold at auction. And there is just so much momentum with the people who are here that they even at a certain point called a few Irish politicians in, and they were able to have this auction shut down. Now obviously that's a temporary measure, but it's a measure, and this is the kind of thing that builds hope and builds momentum. And this is the way something begins, like what happened in Iceland, where people basically just say, hey, banks, we understand that you have ripped us off of our homeland, and we are now taking it back. Thank you very much. And the Irish, the same group of people, have gotten together. It's the People of Ire for Truth. They have gotten together and formed, I believe, a corporation. And they have hired attorneys, and they are approaching this from a business standpoint. And people who have been dispossessed are demanding restoration. And this is only I think 6 or 8 minutes long, extremely encouraging. And this is the good news with which I'm ending for the day. If we join together and we're aware that, okay, in this video actually talks, the people talk a lot about shame. The shame of losing your house, the shame of having debt, the shame of losing your job. And if we can just crack that shame thing, we have not failed. We've been defrauded. We've been taken advantage of. And if we've suffered loss, yeah, okay, maybe we were dupes, maybe we were suckered to some extent. But by very sophisticated people who have developed very sophisticated methods over hundreds, if not thousands of years. So there is no shame in our being where we are. We need to join together and go on from here. If we need to forgive ourselves, if we need to enter into a certain degree of repentance, and you just refocus, repurpose, we can go from here. And the banks have defrauded us, and fraudulent contracts that are entered into when someone has been defrauded, is being defrauded, are null and void. So these agreements with the banks that have been made by the U.S. government corporation, the U.S. corporate government, are really not binding upon us. And as RuPaul, not to be confused with Ron Paul, used to say, "Believe it, baby!" Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.